Hi, my name is Carolina Reyes. I lived in addiction for over 10 years. Hurt, pain, sexual abuse, and domestic violence. When I was living in addiction, the best way I can describe it, I was a monster. I fought in the streets. I pistol whipped men. There was a point that this man owed me money, so I put my 9mm gun in his mouth and said, "Do you want to go out with a bang? Pay me, or I'm going to kill you." I beat up people in the street, men and women. So I was very ugly, very ugly and very scary. At a certain time, I had my children with me, but I saw something happen in the streets. Another lady out there, she was an older prostitute. And when you're in the streets, if you're older, you kind of have a time span that you'll get picked up or do business out there. And they weren't picking her up anymore. So she brought in her daughter and gave her crack. And then once she got her daughter hooked on dope, she said, "Well, if you want some more dope, then you're going to have to do what mommy was doing." So she broke her in and then started selling her to the gangs out there and the drug dealers. And when I saw that, because I was sexually abused as a child, I remember thinking, I'm hurting myself, but I'm not going to let you or anybody hurt my children at that time. And I went home to my mother and I told her, "Mom," I said, I'm not doing good and I'm not going to stop. I know that. And I need you to take care of my boys. She told me, "I will take care of them, but remember, God gave them to you and not to me. When you get it together, you need to come and get them because they're yours, not mine." And I said yes. And I left. I would go back and visit, but I wouldn't have them with me anymore because I knew the life in the streets and I knew the life in the drug house. Yeah. My son, Ricky, was going to church. And at the time, Pastor Grace had skate church. So kids would go skate and hang out. And she would tell them, if you learn the 10 Commandments, even if you learn one, you get a hot dog. So he would go to learn the 10 Commandments, go play. And then he told me, "Mom, Pastor Grace is really good people. I think she can help you." And I'm like, "No, I don't think so. I don't think that's for me." And he told me, if you love me, then you're going to show up." And I'm like, oh. I didn't want to go to church. I knew I was living wrong. I was raised Catholic and I didn't know, honestly, till 2006 that Jesus was off the cross. So I was like, oh. He's like, "Please, Mom, if you love me, please go. She can help you." And I could hear how he wanted his mother. I was just so far gone. I didn't know how to come out. It was like quicksand. And I said, okay, I'll go. So I went to make him happy and honestly to shut him up. It's the truth. And I went and I was not dressed very modest when I went. I was already going to pick a fight with Pastor Grace. She didn't even know. Poor pastor. I was not dressed modest and I had drugs in my pocket and I just wanted to hush Ricky up and I wanted to show up and go back to my lifestyle. Pastor Grace went to go look for me at the house. I said, "No, I don't need your help. I've got this." Those were my words. "I've got this." So she's itty bitty, But for her to show up at the trap house, I had a 12 gauge shotgun on the sofa. And you have this little pastor in the West Side, knocking on my front door, trying to get me help and showing me that she loved me and that she was there for me. But she loved me enough or more than enough to show up at the trap house and knock on the door. She showed up at my mother's house, knocking on the door, saying, I found a place for you. She didn't have to do that. I wasn't a church member. I didn't even know her. I had met her maybe once or twice. And Pastor Grace showed up and I said, no, I didn't open the door at that time. And when I talked to her, I'm like, "I don't need help. I don't need your help. I don't need your God." A week later, I got raided. The police, SWAT, came into the house through the front doors, back doors, broke windows, doors, came in with guns. And I remember sitting on the sofa and I looked as they were coming in and I didn't even flinch or nothing because I had already started asking God, if you're this great and mighty God, then help me get out of it. And I had never heard the voice of God. And the officer came in and he said, who takes responsibility for whatever's found in this house? And I said, I do. It's my house. Okay, so they arrested me. They took me out and put me in the back of a car. And I said to myself, what the hell happened? What happened here? Right? Because I lived in an alley, and in my mind, I had runners. Runners are people that say, hey, 5-0, Popo's coming, watch it. They would call them walkie-talkies. We have dogs. We have pit bulls that will let us know. So the dogs did not bark. And nobody said the police is coming, but I didn't know yet. Thank you, Jesus. That he was answering my prayer. When I was in the back of the car and I heard a voice from behind me, and there was nobody behind me because I was in the vehicle by myself. And I heard him say, you asked me to pull you out. At that moment, I said, wait a minute, I'm not high. Why am I hearing voices? What's going on here? I'm tripping. The officers were still raiding the house. And he came in a second time with a louder voice. He didn't yell at me. You could just hear that authority in God's voice. And he said, you asked me to pull you out. You asked me if I'm real. I am, and I did. I was not a Christian yet, sis. So in my arrogance, I said, this is not the way I wanted you to pull me out, right? Because I'm thinking I'm being arrested. I'm going to do jail time and I'm going to do prison, which I did. When I was in prison, Pastor Grace would write me. And she wrote me and told me, sister, God has set you down. You have to make a decision. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to get into Bible studies. I got into every class you can think of. I remember writing a letter. I got a year in prison. And I remember the Lord told me, you're going to turn yourself into Pastor Grace. I wrote her and I said, Pastor, the Lord told me to turn myself into you. I got a letter a week later. She said, the Lord didn't tell me nothing. And I was like, oh my goodness, maybe I didn't hear him right. After 2 weeks, I got a letter and she said, sister, the Lord has shown me you're to come into the church. And nobody thinks or dreams or wants to grow up and be an addict. Something happened. There's brokenness, there's pain. And every person, and I speak for myself and for the many people that I help and stay in contact with, they've all been broken, hurt, abused, tortured, tormented in some form or way. Until they're able to know that they're worthy and that there is help, no matter what they've been through, will they start being able to release the addiction and heal with God first and foremost. Because before this, I tried NA, I tried AA, I was in mental hospitals, I was in rehabs. Nothing helped. But the answer, I still didn't know my answer was Jesus, though. I didn't know he was the way, the truth, and the life. And I didn't know he could restore something as broken and as ugly as I was and make me something beautiful. Pastor Grace didn't have to love me in the addiction. Pastor Grace didn't have to love me while I was in prison. Pastor Grace didn't have to love me when I was hitting the streets, but she did. She didn't have to go look for me. We weren't blood. We were nothing. She was nothing to me, but she did. That love that she went out to the trap house and she would go and, look for me at my mom's house and would constantly invite me, knowing that I know that she saw how ugly my face was looking at her. She overlooked that and she's like, if you need anything, sister, here I am. And I'm like, thank you, because I wasn't having it. But she kept going and she kept loving me, even with all my faces and all my ugliness. She just loved me. And when Pastor Grace, shares her story at church, she says, guys, Carrie's not what she was in the streets. So she was scary. She would scare me. The way she was and how she would get angry was scary. But now, the church kids call me Care Bear. From a monster to Care Bear. Stepping back into my children's lives was a mix of emotions: happy, anxiety, sad, overwhelming. I wanted to run away at times. I was not ready for the emotions and the trauma that I had put my sons into, and having to deal with that now as a Christian mom, off of drugs, not able to self-medicate, not able to do no alcohol, no nothing, and still stay sober and be a mom. My sons responded when they knew that I turned myself into the home. They were all very excited and happy. When mom graduated the home and mom had rules and boundaries, not very happy and not very excited. It was a constant fight because I couldn't answer them the way I would answer them before. I would explain things. I would make dinners because I wanted to be a mom, and make dinners and birthday dinners, and they would look at me and I would have candles and the whole table set up, and they would walk away and leave me there. So it was very hard, very overwhelming. I needed a village. That's where Pastor Grace came in. I needed a support system for myself. It was so overwhelming, sis, that at some point I even got physically sick. Ended up in the hospital a few times. From high blood pressure, from stress. A person that comes out of addiction, any kind of addiction, cannot do it alone. They need a village. They need a support system. They need accountability. And I think that's where so many men and women fall again into addiction, because they don't know how to deal with the emotions of the children having a tantrum and having to manage your emotions without addiction. We're going to get upset. Everything is not butterflies and roses when we come out of addiction. Life is not butterflies and roses, helping them with that. But the first step would be they need to say, I need extra help. Love hard, love like Jesus. Love like Jesus, and that acceptance and no judgment. Because when you love like Jesus, that door is going to stay open. And when something happens or anything, or even if it's a question they have, they're going to feel comfortable enough to come and call you, or come and show up at church, or text you and say, hey, I'm having a situation. Can you please help me? Or can we meet? Or can you give me a few minutes? And it's a door that you leave open. And it might be they might come in within 24 hours. They might text you. It might take 2-3 years till they text you. But you leave that door open so they can come in.